All right, everyone, we are back with the MAV podcast. It's been a minute, but I'm excited to have our next guest. I'm super excited to have Essiyas here. You guys might have been seeing him on the chart at Spotify. He's been growing numbers like no tomorrow. And without further ado, Essiyas, welcome on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course, man.
Why
don't you introduce yourself for us?
For sure. My name's Essiyas. I'm an independent artist, born and raised in Vancouver, Canada.
Nice. Cool. So for those that don't know, Essiyas does music. Let's talk about a little bit about your genre that you do. What's the genre that you've kind of focused on right now?
For sure. I'd say it's kind of a mixture of R&B, hip hop. I'd kind of put it into like a dark R&B lane, but lately I've kind of been tapping into more electronic music as well. So it's kind of hard to put it into one, but yeah, right. I'd probably say R&B.
Okay. Before this, we were kind of talking about like dark R&B. If you can maybe explain to us what that is and kind of what the motivation behind that is.
For sure. Yeah, I'd say dark R&B is it's kind of a twist on the R&B that you're used to. It's a little bit heavier bass, sort of a darker feel.
Okay, nice. So obviously, I've seen you and I've known you for a while. For those that don't know, we're homies and I've known you for a few years now, and I've seen you kind of not only grow as a person, but also as an artist. And it's crazy how much, you've accomplished in such a short amount of time. What do you think has been at the forefront of really, propelling you to that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think just this past year, I sort of like going into 2023, I kind of just made the commitment that I was going to focus more on the promotion side of music. I was always just making music for fun for a while. And I kind of just clicked into gear with like the consistency, posting content regularly, right? Just consistently improving my craft as well. Like, trying different sounds. And yeah, I kind of just committed to posting daily was like the first thing. And then just dropping music consistently as well. Like I think I've released 5 songs so far this year. And yeah.
That's crazy. So, you touched on a point, consistency, and we'll touch into social media after, but how important do you think consistency is for any craft, let alone music?
Yeah, I think consistency is key for any craft for sure. I think like the most successful people are those that just, refuse to give up, just if they have to do the same thing over and over again until it eventually works. I think that's kind of what it comes down to.
For sure. I think, for me at least, social media, I've noticed that consistency is everything, right? There's no point in putting so much content out if you're just gonna, go on a pause for months on end. As I say that, I've done that with the podcast a little bit. Life's been busy, but you've been all over social media. Even for those people that don't follow you, there's no way you can go on TikTok or Instagram and not see you pop up. How much of social media and TikTok specifically do you think you can attest to your rise in monthly listeners?
For sure. I'd say it's been everything, like TikTok especially. Just as I said, like me and my producer Arya, we both sort of told each other in the beginning of the year, like we're going to post content every day on the app. Like it started out, we were posting 3-4 videos a day and just doing that on a regular basis, and eventually started to pick up. We had videos flopping for a long time, but eventually things just started to pick up, and you kind of find your niche on the app and figure out what works and keep going from there. But yeah, no, I'd say social media has been everything.
That's crazy. Sure. It doesn't, it's not every day that, I think music's definitely a really hard industry. I think a lot of people try it and, for whatever reason, it doesn't work out. But I think what you're doing is fantastic. Now, I know you're full time in music right now, but the side you're also juggling school.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's insane. That's awesome.
Thanks.
I think that's really cool. I think not many artists can balance the two. Let us kind of explain what you're doing in school, where you go to school, and what's kind of the reason you went to school for it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first thing is I'm studying business at UBC in Vancouver here.
You just have girls just lining up outside your classes?
No, but
not yet.
No, but yeah, it's definitely like it can be tough to balance at times. Like, school gets busy for sure. Like it's a intense program that I'm in as well. Like, when it's exam time, I kind of have to lock in, and it's always been something I've had to balance with the music. Like I've always been, a high achiever in school as well as with the music side of things. And yeah, studying business specifically, it just kind of like worked with what my interests are. I think like just wanting to knowing that like music is a business in itself, and just wanting to, you know, build my skills to be able to go into that with the, you know, the right ability to succeed. So I think, yeah, just keeping in the back of my mind that like, you know, the skills that I'm learning in school can be transferred over to the music career that I'm building. And yeah, it's definitely, it can be tough, but it's something that I plan on finishing off for sure. Yeah.
No, that's really impressive. I think, you know, when you look at, you know, these old, kind of the last generation, or not even last generation, just like guys like that era of like 50 Cent and all that, you know, so many of the people in that era have gone bankrupt, and, you know, I guess they just no one had ever taught them about money or financial literacy. So I think it's amazing that, you know, you're putting yourself at the forefront of that and getting ahead of it, and whatever fame that comes your way, you know, you're going to be able to back that up with an education as well. For sure. Yeah. No one's going to be able to take you for your money.
Definitely. At the end of the day, like I'm treating myself as my own business. So I just, you know, wanting to do everything I can to continue to be able to build that and have the right skills to, you know, not go bankrupt down the line or make the wrong decisions. Just having education in my back pocket for sure.
Right. Do you consider yourself an entrepreneur?
For sure. Yeah. I think the music business is one of the hardest businesses to be in, like with how competitive it is and how creative you have to be, like with any other entrepreneurial type of pursuit. But yeah, I definitely think like I'd consider myself an entrepreneur, and I definitely want to branch off into other things within business for sure. Like I want to, you know, build my own brand. Can't talk about it too much yet, but like, you know, we have things we're working on.
Nice.
But yeah, so I definitely see it as a bigger vision. Right.
So a brand, not just an entity, right? So you're not just a singer. You can be so much more than just that.
Exactly.
Who would you say are some like role models and inspiration for, I guess, music or just life for you?
That's a good question. Well, I think in music, probably starting off like the artists that made me want to make music in the first place would be like Drake, Party Next Door.
Right.
So that old Toronto sound, The Weeknd in his earlier days, for sure were huge inspirations for me. That's listening to those songs and like the feelings that those gave me, I think is what kind of propelled me to want to pursue music. And yeah, I guess like on the business side of things as well, like looking at artists like Russ being able to be fully independent, which I am, definitely like big inspirations as well.
Right. Definitely. Yeah, that's huge. I mean, I think so many artists, I mean, I don't know too much about the scene, but so many artists, I think, give up so much of their pie too quickly.
Yeah.
And I think what I've noticed what you're doing is you're so strategic about your presence and your identity, not only in your music, but also on social media, right? You're almost a bit of an enigma, I think. Do you think people are, how do I phrase this question? Like, what do you think is an image of yourself that you're trying to portray? And like, what do you think, or is that something that you wanted to portray, that kind of like mysterious vibe, or is that something that just came about based on the type of music that you're producing?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, the main thing is wanting to be myself, obviously, and portray that. But I think it kind of just, the mysterious image goes hand in hand with the music that I'm creating.
For sure.
For sure. So yeah, that's kind of like, I guess what you can see on social media is that darker sort of aesthetic that we've created. Yeah.
Nice. I guess, I don't know if you can talk about this or not, in terms of performances, live performances. Is that something you're looking into at all to do? Because I'm sure, you know, you got a pretty good audience at this point. I think they really appreciate seeing you in live and in person.
For sure. That's one of the next things I want to get done in the near future, for sure. Like we're talking, it's in talks right now. We're planning shows for the near future.
Nice.
My plan is to drop a project pretty soon, have a lot more music out for people to be listening to. And yeah, I think definitely in the next few months, you'll definitely see me live performing.
Out of, because, you know, this whole music thing, there's an umbrella and there's so many categories to it, right? There's the actual songwriting part of it. There's the production of it, the beats to it, the music video. There's so many aspects to it. What's your favorite part in that whole category of what you're doing?
That's a good question. I think my favorite part has to just be like the feeling that you get when it's something fresh, like creatively, like just me and my producer. Like I'd say the most enjoyment we get is when we we open up a new song and we just lay down fresh ideas, playing it back, just getting super excited. I think it's that like initial feeling, and then, you know, listening to your songs back for the next few days after that, when it just like that excitement is still there. That's definitely like, that's got to be up there with the best part about it. But I think also like video creation, filming videos is also something that I love. Yeah. We're trying to consistently sort of build our brand around creating cool visuals to go with it. So yeah,
definitely. I mean, for those that haven't seen it, you know, you got to check out his music videos. Just nice cars, nice looking people in it. And I mean, it's very gravitating. Obviously the music just supplements that so well. And then in terms of a vision, I mean, if you could, you know, see yourself in, let's say 5-10 years, do you see a clear picture, or is it just you see a path that's going well and you just want to pursue it and land where you land?
Yeah, it's hard to say for sure, like to narrow it down to like one thing that I see myself doing, or a vision that I see myself at in 5 to 10 years. I think it's just like with anything, you want to consistently grow and just, right. Yeah, I think your goals change over time as well. Like just in the past year, like I've achieved a lot as far as growth with the numbers, and it's always just like on to the next thing. So I think definitely just wanting to improve my craft over time. That's a big goal of mine. Just continue to become a better artist, better in the business. Yeah. And just have freedom is, I think, the ultimate goal, to just be able to create the music that I want to make, travel, perform it for people. Right. And yeah.
When did you know that music was something that you were interested in pursuing? Was it from a really young age, or was it, you know, later on in life?
Yeah, I'd say music has always been a really big part of my life. Like, you know, my older brothers and my parents are all very into music, and I think I just grew up hearing a lot of music, always being inspired by it. But when it kind of became a bigger part of my life, I think was when I first started making music. Okay. When actually my brother's friend gave us like a recording microphone, like his older one. He was making music at the time, and he lent us his microphone, and we started just messing around, making songs like on FL Studio. And from there, I think it kind of just sparked that passion that I already had to just want to keep going with it.
It's crazy. I love kind of reflecting back and noticing those instances and those things that happened that at the time seemed like a regular thing, but become so pivotal into making you who you are. Like I remember when I was a kid, my mom, for some reason, loved going to open houses for houses. Just loved it for no reason. Just loved it. Yeah. House. It could be a tear down, crappy house. It could be a mansion, whatever. Just liked the idea of doing that. And I wonder, reflecting back, because as a kid, and obviously you go where your mom goes, she just held my hand and I just tagged along. And I always wonder how much of doing that with her impacted me in the career that I ultimately chose. And even like, you know, when my mom was always watching HGTV, I wonder how much of just absorbing that subconsciously affected my decision and made me love what I do. So when you kind of think about that, I guess that microphone could have been a huge pivotal moment for you.
Sure.
Any other moments like that you can kind of think back on and be like, yeah, I can see how the two things connected and inspired me?
Yeah, I think that's definitely the main one. Also, just having, I think, two older brothers who are always like inspiring my music taste at a young age. I think I was, as opposed to a lot of people my age when I was younger, I was exposed to like a lot of different genres of music, and I was able to just like develop an appreciation for it at an early age, I think, which is kind of, you know, I'm lucky to have had that experience growing up. I think that's definitely like a huge part of my love for music, is just getting that early exposure and always wanting to, you know, continue to find more music and eventually make music. But yeah.
I mean, okay, so let's kind of diverge now. You touched on the idea of family. Obviously, you know, you and your two bros, my closest friends.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, these three brothers, literally the nicest guys. And it's crazy how close you guys all are.
Yeah.
You know, you know, most times you hear about siblings and, you know, they're not that close, so they check in on each other. But you guys, live and breathe together. Like, you know, everyone's success, every single person's success is all of your successes.
For sure.
And I think that's really cool. And I think it's rare to find. How much of an impact, I know you kind of touched on it before, but how much of an impact do you think having two older brothers had on who you are today and just how you carry yourself?
Yeah, it's been a blessing for sure. Like having two older brothers, always, you know, watching my back and making sure that I was making the right decisions. I had two guys to look up to for sure. You know, based on what they chose to do, I was able to have a lot better idea of, you know, how I saw my future going. And yeah, I think, as you said, like a lot of siblings aren't that close that like as we are, and I think it's a blessing for sure to have these guys like my best friends. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're all rooting for you. I mean, I'm ready to drop everything and come just be a janitor on your private jet, you know? So you have a producer.
Yeah.
What's your guys' relationship like?
Yeah, so my producer, Aria Beats, I'm sure you guys have heard of him, but
give him a follow.
Yeah, drop a follow for him for sure. Yeah, we've been friends since high school, like early on. We played basketball together. We've known each other for a while. Kind of building off what I talked about earlier, I originally started making music with my brother, and he was sort of engineering for me, you know, running the tracks, recording, and then eventually, like, I think maybe a year down the line, some of my buddies in school were starting to mess around with music as well, and Aria was one of them. So I kind of naturally started to make some music with them after school, whatever. And yeah, we kind of just clicked right away, and it's been since then.
Nice.
And he got into, at first we were like both singing, rapping together, making tracks, and then he eventually got into production, and he's been absolutely killing it ever since. It's crazy how much he's developed in such a short amount of time. Right. But yeah.
How does working together, especially now that you guys have picked up a little bit of traction, so and correct me if I'm wrong, things become a bit more serious now, right? It's not just two guys in a basement making beats now. We actually have over 200,000 monthly subscribers. Yeah. It's got a ton of people now listening to you. So you know, there's realism to all this now. Has that affected your relationship, like in terms of directions you want to take, types of music you want to produce? Did you guys argue about any of that, or are you guys really on the same page?
We've been pretty much on the same page. Like, just recently, like he's started putting out his own music as well. He's in more of like a electronic genre, and he's had a ton of success with his own music on his own. Right. And yeah, I'd say we've kind of always been on the same page. Like from the jump, we've always just kind of been just the two of us together, pretty isolated. Our process is just like we do everything from scratch, whether it's the production, the recording, mixing and mastering. Everything has been just like the two of us. So I think, yeah, our vision hasn't really changed. The numbers have gone up for sure, but I think we're still very much in line with what our goals are, and just to continue to make good music. And yeah, no,
that's great. I mean, I've seen it if you guys just collaborate on in person and stuff, and you can definitely tell you guys are both so motivated, and that I think ultimately when you're both on the same page on level of motivation, I think it's just a recipe for success. And so, all music side aside now, tell us more about you as an individual behind the scenes. What's a day-to-day look like?
Sure. Yeah, I'd say balancing between school, music, fitness as well. It's a big part of my life. I love to work out. Yeah, hang out with my friends, my brothers.
Does it get annoying when you got to sign people's like autographs and stuff when you're at the gym?
No, it hasn't been annoying yet. But
do you ever get recognized?
I have been before. It's not really at that level yet, but yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, definitely working out has been a big part of my life for sure.
All right, cool. And then I don't know. I mean, there's a few things I want to ask. I don't know if I can ask you, but in terms of the style of music that you're kind of now pursuing, you know, how wide of a range do you want to take this? And when you do it, you know, what's the reason behind it? Is it something that you're just now personally interested in, or is it more of a business decision?
With the style of music?
Yeah, like you're saying, you're kind of shifting on different, you know, versions now. Dark R&B, now you're doing kind of more electronic?
Yeah, for sure. No, it's a good question. I think just constantly wanting to experiment and change things up. Yeah, I think just making, at the end of the day, it's just making the music that I want to make.
Right.
It's like, it's tough when you're
things you want to listen to at the gym. Now you can listen to yourself.
Exactly. I think it's tough as a creator or musician. You're kind of basing your perception of success on like how other people are receiving it. But I think a big thing is just like making the music that you want to make, being authentic and continuing. Yeah, I think just tapping into more electronic sound now. It's kind of been the music that I've been listening to as well. So it's naturally been something that I wanted to experiment with.
Do you think Vancouver is the place for you to continue growing, or do you think eventually you're going to hit a ceiling where, you know what, it's time to, you know, move south a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I think just business wise, you know, making connections in other places will definitely be like a decision that has to be made. But yeah, as of now, Vancouver is home. It's the city that's embraced me. But yeah, I think down the line, like I have a ton of listeners in Europe for sure. Like shout out to all the German listeners. I definitely want to like go out there, do some shows in the near future, and just continue to build.
I can't imagine the number of German girls just waiting at the airport for you. Okay, what are some things that you think that you'd like your audience to know more about you? Like, if you really have to think about it, you know, what are some characteristics or things that you're like, oh, I wish, like, I'm rambling. Let me give you an example. You know, remember we had Georgia on for Strawberry Milk Mob? Mm-hmm. So many people just think it's just a girl, some, you know, spoiled girl selling bikinis, but they don't know what's happening behind the scenes. Just the amount of effort and the amount of work ethic it takes to create this brand and then sell them, the drop shipping, the daily endeavors that it's taking, right? So I'll rephrase, in terms of other people that are younger than you that are looking to kind of pursue into your suit and your shoes, what kind of advice could you give them?
For sure. That's a good question. Putting me on the spot a bit. I think
what would you want to have heard if you were, 15-year-old Essiyas looking up at someone who's on their way to make it?
Sure, that's a good question. I'd probably put into three things. The first one just being be yourself. I think number one. Right. People appreciate authenticity. Just as I touched on earlier, don't base your success on what other people want to hear or how your music's being received. I think your job is to just create what you want to exist in the world. So yeah, just be authentic. I think people will appreciate that. Be someone that others can relate to. Number two would be patient. I think nowadays especially it's really important because with social media and things like that, you might see someone and think shit just happened overnight with their success or whatever it is. So I think just knowing that things take time. Everyone's story is different. So just continuing on and just knowing that when things are right, they'll happen. Being patient for sure. And then I think the last thing is being consistent, which we definitely talked about earlier. I think just with any pursuit, not just being a musician or anything else, I think just having the ability to do things regularly, commit to your goals, and just consistently try to get better on a daily basis, I think is what will kind of determine your success for sure. I think
you've summarized it really well. So just to recap: authenticity, patience, and consistency. I think that's really good. I think as you said, that really applies to anything, not just the music industry, any passion that you want to pursue. Did you get a lot of naysayers at the start being like, this is a waste of your time, what are you doing, just focus on school or whatever, you get a job, music's not going to go anywhere, why waste your time?
I think naturally, like especially in a creative pursuit like that, people will look at you and be like, what's this guy doing?
I think anything that is beyond the norm.
With starting a business too, I'm sure like entrepreneurs just early on, people are going to doubt them and be like, because you're the only one that sees the vision in the beginning type of thing. So I think you just have to trust that and be like, blow block out all the noise and be like, I'm gonna make this happen, and just not really let other people's opinions determine your.
There's so much chitter chatter in the back
for sure,
and it's crazy because once you now start doing well, that chitter chatter completely shuts off. It becomes something else later, but they almost convert into people that want to now be on your side.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool to reflect back and remember who had the chitter chatter that was useless versus who really supported you right at the start. And I'm assuming your brothers were probably your biggest fans. I mean, I know we all were, but I think that's really cool to have your own like little corner of just support that you grew up with.
For sure. Yeah. And I think it's also like one of the most satisfying things is like knowing that your close circle was there for you from the start. And not to say that I'm some huge artist now and everyone's trying to hop on the wave, but like, you see people's minds kind of start to change later on. And I think it's just, it's very important to know like who was there from the start. And
when did you start really getting, what's going on?
Nice.
Yo, can I get one too? This guy came with it was an entourage. I don't know what did I even ask. I don't know. In terms of,
thanks.
What are you drinking? Don't worry about it. In terms of like manifesting. Oh, I remember what I asked. When did you start getting excited? Like, when was that point where you're like, shit, I see this. Like, it's, I have something here. When was that point? Was it a specific drop of a song? Was it a certain amount of views? Like, when did you have that feeling?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think probably like, I mean, I've always had that confidence in myself.
Right.
Like, I've always thought I was going to make it happen.
Right.
So that hasn't changed. I think just, I was kind of, in the beginning you're waiting for everyone else to catch on type of thing. So I think I've had that confidence, but I think definitely when it became more real was like just this past few months, or even like maybe the beginning of the summer when I released Overdrive, which is a pretty successful song of mine. I think just that one, the way I promoted that one, the success it had on TikTok is kind of what gave me that confidence, and how fast like the numbers went up. And
I mean, it's hard not to look back at your numbers. I mean, at the end of the day, any business wants to look at the analytics and the books. The numbers at the end of the day speak for themselves. Yeah. Whether it's a financial number or a monthly listener number, it's definitely a point of reference for success, or at least to show that you're making it. But again, if you really dove deep, was there like, so you said was it Overdrive?
Yeah.
When that hit and you started seeing the views just increase and increase and the listens going up and up, did it just sink in? You're like, shit, like I actually have people now fully wanting to listen to this, and I'm onto something.
For sure. Yeah. I think just like it's hard at first when you don't feel that support, I guess, physically, like, or just even getting messages from people on a regular basis, like asking for new music, things like that.
Strangers.
Yeah, exactly. Just
that's wild.
New people from around the world discovering your music and taking the time out of their day to message you and say that it inspired them in any way, I think is the biggest motivator. That's why like I have like a photo album in my phone that just is like screenshots of messages from people showing me love early on, and I just use that to remind myself of like why I do this. But yeah.
Do you think what do you think it is? Do you think it's being young? Do you think it's just like, what exactly do you think is so gravitating? Is it the music, or is it the style of music? What is it, do you think, that people can relate so much to?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of everything for sure. Like, I think the music speaks for itself. And then obviously like the visuals that we try to attach to it as well. We want to create something that I think the main thing is that people can connect to, for sure. Like I take a lot of time with my music because I want it to be, to be exactly. And I want there to be a deeper meaning to things. Like I don't want to look back on my music and be like, I was just saying random shit. I wanted people to be able to, listen to it and really feel it and relate to it on a deeper level. So I think, yeah.
If you could choose one artist to collab with, right? Magic crystal ball, it happened. Who would it be?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd have to say like the artist that kind of made me want to make music, which is like Party Next Door or Drake, of course.
Yeah.
The GOAT. But one of those two for sure.
In terms of, let's go back to just goal setting and how you've got here so quickly. Manifestation, are you a believer in it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think like,
because you seem like you said, like from the beginning, you've been very confident about I'm going to make it. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah, exactly. It's always been a matter of when, I think. And I whatever pursuit you're going for, I think just if you have that self-belief.
So to wrap it up, is there anything that you want to say to the audience that's listening?
I definitely just want to say thank you to all my supporters who've been following me along this journey. Definitely be ready for some new music in the near future. Working on a track with Arya right now. It's going to be coming very soon. Also a project in the works as well. So just stay tuned for sure.
Nice. And maybe let them know where can they find you?
Essiyas on all platforms pretty much. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Instagram, whatever. Just
TikTok,
everything. Yeah.
Awesome.
Essiyas.
Love it. Well, thanks again for coming on. And thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for the next episode. We got some nice guests lined up.
Thanks for having me, man.